Plenty of time left to go here on the South Jersey Sports Report. We're going to welcome in Mike Frankel of SNJ Today. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Pretty good. I haven't perfected my impression of you yet.
Maybe that's a good thing, Sully. I think that's a good thing.
Hey, before we get started, take us through the Thanksgiving schedule at the Frankels. I guess it's a little crazy nowadays. We got the two young guys.
Yeah, it is, and then I'm always doing high school football, so it's a little bit of a challenge. But yeah, the family starts Thanksgiving without me, and then I join it in progress, kind of like doing a game in progress on ESPN radio. So I'll cover some high school football for SNJ today, and then hopefully they leave me a plate or two, a couple pieces of pie, and then I'll join them usually around 5 or 6, and I get the scraps. But yeah, no, it's all good, man. When you cover high school sports, you have to be willing to cover high school football on Thanksgiving, so it's all good.
So you miss the late morning, early afternoon need a nap meltdown.
I do, which is also a good thing, Sully, if we're going to be totally honest.
You got it worked out pretty good.
I'm on a high school football sideline on Thanksgiving while my wife is trying to get the kids down for a nap so they don't tear the house up for Thanksgiving dinner. So yeah,
and then you show up as soon as the food comes out of the oven and the kids are ready for bed an hour later.
Daddy's home. Where's my plate?
Oh man! So we just had on Shane Snyder from Washington Township Boys Soccer. I know you've covered a little bit of soccer this fall, and they've pretty much been the predominant number one team throughout the season. And what a program that guy's built over there! 5 straight sectionals.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I covered their South Jersey Group 4 championship win over Jackson Memorial the other day, and yeah, they're really the top. You could call them the top team in all of South Jersey. Certainly, St. Augustine, can argue that this year as they knocked off Washington Township in the Coaches Cup final. But certainly the top public school team in South Jersey, and it's really not even close. They've won 5 South Jersey Group 4 titles in a row. Just so much talent on that team, and really through the feeder systems on up. I mean, Washington Township. The youth kids there, they start playing competitive soccer so young, and the kids stick together. A lot of those kids go to private schools, so they're all funneling right into the public school there at Washington Township. And, yeah, what a performance. I mean, they got up 2-0 against Jackson Memorial at the half, and really the Jaguars threw a lot at them in the second half, and they were able to hang on. And, I know Washington Township was a little disappointed last year. Obviously, they win the South Jersey title, and then they lose in the state semifinal. It's one of those programs where certainly they celebrate South Jersey championships, but I think the real measuring stick is state championships. And I know the Minutemen have their eye on one of those this year.
Yeah, they're starting to get into that territory of like an Ocean City field hockey or an Eastern field hockey where a sectional title is like, yeah, okay, put in the trophy case, let's go. Let's move on to the state championship round.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly worth celebrating, and I know the kids and the coaches had a fun time the other day after the game. And, you can't just brush that off. That's a huge accomplishment, especially in South Jersey Group 4. I mean, you're talking about obviously the bigger schools and super competitive. And, even a program as good as Washington Township, I think even in their opening round, it was a 2-0 win over Millville. So that kind of gives you a little taste of how competitive that is. I mean, that's the 16th seed Millville coming in and hanging in with the top team in South Jersey. So every game's competitive. When you win a South Jersey championship, yeah, that is an amazing accomplishment. But like you said, that's not the end-all, be-all for Washington Township. They have some unfinished business in now the state semifinals, and hopefully for them the state final. You
going to stop over to his ping pong tournament today? Get a little human interest piece?
I might. Coach Snyder gets creative. I remember checking in with those guys a couple of years ago before a state championship game, and they stay loose. I looked for them on the practice field. I couldn't find them. I ducked into the kind of the weight room area there, and they're playing soccer in the weight room, just keeping it loose and having fun. But I think this time of year, that's what you have to do as a coach, because you've played so much. I mean, there's only so much tactically that you can add at this point. So why not just keep the guys loose, keep them rested, and at the same time you're kind of keeping them focused for the next challenge.
Talking with Mike Frankel of SNJ Today, and Mike, some great high school football last night. We got a ton more on today's schedule. What are you looking at today? What jumps out at you off the page from these brackets?
All of it, right? I mean, most of the games are today, so I'm sure we're going to be driving all over South Jersey. No, I mean, last night I had a chance to go up to Haddonfield, and you guys have probably touched on it so far today, but, Pleasantville really, they were feeling pretty good at the half, up 6-0. They really dominated the first half, and then the Bulldogs, I mean, defending champions for the reason, they really flicked the switch in the second half and came out, and, some mistakes from Pleasantville cost them too. And So Haddonfield moves on there. But, yeah, today, great schedule. I know tonight I'm going to go over to Williamstown, check out Vineland-Williamstown. The Fighting Clan, I mean, that's a great story. The last 2 years, I mean, maybe you expected this because they had the big names, you know, Isaiah Pacheco and those guys. And for whatever reason, they just weren't able to break through in the playoffs. And then, you know, I think a lot of us maybe counted them out this year. You know, Ryan Shelton, the quarterback, he breaks his, I believe, his collarbone in the final regular season game.
Yep.
And then they go into the playoffs, and they have Toms River North, which is obviously a perennial powerhouse. And, you know, give Dan Russo credit, head coach of Vineland. He moved some pieces around, and they went 33-0. So Williamstown is obviously the number 1 seed for a reason. Braves are very talented, but that's a rematch of a Week 0 game. I think the final score is 24-7, but if I recall correctly, Vineland was really right in that game late in the third quarter.
I think it was a 1-score game in the fourth quarter before Williamstown kind of pulled away a little bit late.
Yeah, so that's certainly a game I'm looking forward to later tonight. And then this afternoon, I know it's a little outside of your coverage area, I'm going to head out to Salem County. There's some shootouts out there usually on Saturday. So Salem's home with Gateway. Gateway, a great story. Undefeated, really best season in school history to this point, so that should be a good one too. But take your picks, Ellie. A lot of good games all across South Jersey today.
Now, do you think the Gators can, this is kind of maybe their biggest test ever is to see if they can get into a championship game. You think they can handle the pressure this round?
I do. I mean, I've seen them play in person once this year. They knocked off Paulsboro on the road, and that was the first win over Paulsboro on the field. I think they had a forfeit. But the first win over Paulsboro on the field in something like 30 years or since the mid-'80s, something like that. So, yeah, it's a talented team. Look, Group 1, and, you know, Buna is in the mix too, obviously, for, you know, Buna football fans in your listening area. But the 4 teams left, in my eyes, are really all capable of winning that thing. You know, there's so much parity in Group 1. Maybe not as much in the opening round because I think you saw, you know, some one-sided games last week. But now 3 out of the 4 teams left are undefeated. The only team that's not undefeated is Salem. And they've only lost to Pennsgrove, and they lost to a Catholic League school from Philly to open the season. So I think a lot of those teams, maybe all of them, are on the same level playing field. It should be a fun day with the 2 Group 1 games out in Salem County.
And, Mike, real quick to finish up here, Group 2, we knew that was kind of the, like they say in World Cup, the group of death. I mean, this thing was just loaded with great teams, and Pleasantville goes down, so Haddonfield's in the championship game. They're going to face either West Deptford or Camden. I mean, these 3 teams that are left in that bracket are just, I mean, just pick one out of a hat any day of the week, and you could probably say, yeah, that's a champion.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Sully. And, you know, this is not a knock to some of the bigger schools, but I really believe that you take those 3 teams and maybe even Pleasantville, too, even after the loss last night, and you put them in a bigger group, and they're going to compete and maybe make it to a sectional final and win it. Like you said, the group of death, that's not saying that the larger public school groups are weaker, but just so much talent in that group. Haddonfield, West Deptford, we all know the history there. Camden, you know, they've had so much talent. This might be their most talented team in recent years, and we'll see if the Panthers can break through, and certainly Pleasantville with that Cinderella run, although you can't really call it Cinderella because they had the talent this year, and certainly nothing to be ashamed of there. But you're right, South Jersey Group 2 is loaded. That should be a war today between Camden and West Deptford.
Mike, as always, we appreciate the updates, and get ready for wrestling and basketball. We'll definitely be checking in with you during those seasons. I gotta drop some weight here, get into a different weight class. I only got a few weeks left.
Remember, Sully, you don't weigh in, you don't wrestle.
Awesome, man. Appreciate the time, Mike, and have a great rest of the weekend.
All right, guys, be good.